Hey, what's going on, you guys? Weaponized just aired an episode yesterday. I'm a little behind on this one here. Anyways, on Weaponized, they have this gentleman from the military. I guess he had served like 16 years in the military, and apparently they had a sighting that happened on the base, and apparently it was a cube UFO shaped craft that's about 100 feet in diameter. The thing was huge. Anyways, you guys, here's the video. Like, subscribe, share with friends.
What up, Jeff? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I'm very happy to be here. Hi, George. How you doing?
Hey, good to talk to you. Can you give us a little of your bio, a thumbnail sketch of your bio? How long were you in the Air Force?
Yeah, I did 16 years on active duty as a military police officer. That was my specialty. At Vandenberg, I was heavily involved in law enforcement. I was the installation hostage and crisis negotiator, so I had a pretty active career. So yeah.
Is there some family history with the topic?
Actually, yeah. My grandparents on my mother's side. My grandfather was a World War II combat vet. He was in the Battle of Sicily and all the major conflicts, leading up to the end of World War II. So very familiar with aircraft. And I have his war diary, and he documents like radio-controlled bombs and brand new technology of the day. Him and my grandmother were at Lake Erie, and they witnessed the it's called the Presque Isle UFO landing, and that was a major case. Project Blue Book documented it. The Air Force investigated. It was in all the national papers, and they saw the craft land. They were out fishing, and and that's all they really saw. But it turned into a very big event. Multiple witnesses, police officers, and on and on.
So you're in 16 years. You're at Vandenberg for how long? And while you're there as a military police officer, you're not investigating UFOs. You're doing your job, right?
Right. Yeah. Right.
How long were you there at Vandenberg?
I got there in 1999. I left Vandenberg in 2006. So about almost 7 years.
As we're going to hear today, there were multiple incidents that you're aware of.
Absolutely. Yeah. Most of them are not public yet.
You testified to Congress, or you briefed them in 2023. Tell us a little bit about that, how that went.
Yeah, so it all started, over the years. I had sort of my own X file. What I would do when these events would happen, I would go up to our command center and I would print out the paperwork, and I kept all of that. So I had this X file full of these strange events, over the years I just didn't know what to do with it. I thought about contacting journalists and things, but I didn't want to put it out to the news and then them do the X-Files music and just it be a blip. I wanted to do something important with it. So eventually I found Ryan Graves in the Merged podcast, and I thought, well, here's the guy. This is the guy. He's an experiencer himself. He's credible. So I reached out to Ryan. Him and his colleague Brad Crispin got right back to me. We talked. I sent them my 214 and some other performance reports to show I was at Vandenberg and my role there. And then things happened very quickly. He put me into contact with some lawmakers, Congress, senators, and their staffers. And I ended up doing like a mass briefing. And I told them about the event. I shared the details of the case. I let them know that I had actual documentation, Air Force official records of the event, and that really started things rolling.
Jeremy, take us into the Red Square.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's awesome the service that Ryan is providing to allow people like you to come forward and to amplify your voice and bring you into the halls of Congress. That is so essential. And I'm just grateful to Ryan for kind of having that capability to bring someone like you in. Yeah, let's start with the Red Square, the Red Cube. 2003, Vandenberg Air Force Base. I mean, just paint a picture for us. Tell us, take us through the event. This was mentioned in Congress, and this is something you've provided evidence and proof for because of your own work. Tell us what happened.
So, yeah, it started out normal day. I was the senior patrolman on Bravo flight. Flights are like platoons in the Army. We have flights. So we usually have 60 to 80 or more people on each flight. I was in a leadership position as the senior law enforcement sergeant. So I came into work about an hour early to do changeover with the offgoing leadership. That was Delta flight. When I pulled into the to work, I noticed there was a crowd of people around the smoke pit, and when I pulled up, they all started to point at me, and they're like, "Oh, there's Jeff," and I could tell they had something cool to tell me, which was not unusual. We were pretty active base. We had wild things that would happen from time to time. So I walked over, and all at once they all start to tell me that at 08:45 that morning, we had a real world UFO event at Launch Facility 21 on the north end of the base. And at first, I'm like, are you guys pulling a prank or doing whatever? But very quickly, I realized that this was real. So I walked over to the command center and met with the off-going leadership, their flight chief and their senior patrolman, my counterpart. And they gave me a briefing. And they had actually responded to the event. So I got, direct from the horse's mouth. And basically what happened was 3 Boeing contractors were working on a national missile defense site. This was a new initiative under the Bush administration to put in together like a Star Wars program to protect us from, ballistic missiles. And these contractors were working on site. One of them walked outside and noticed there was this gigantic red glowing square shaped object hovering at low altitude over the launch pad. And this guy just is like, oh my God, what is going on? He watches it for a few minutes. He goes in, picks up the landline, and calls 2 of his coworkers. They all come out, observe this thing for some period of time, and then they do what they're supposed to do. They picked up the phone. They called range control, which is like a command center that oversees all the various launch facilities. They reported it. They described the object. And then the controller at range control called around to the various other agencies on base. They called the weather station. They called the tower at the flight line and everybody else to find out if we had anything in the air. And the results were negative. We had no aircraft. We had no weather balloons. There was nothing on radar. So they had no idea what this object was. And at some point during that time frame, the object just slowly floated further onto the installation, and they lost visual as it went over some hills. So it came onto the base. Absolutely no noise, no signs of propulsion. So this was like completely anomalous. So after making those notifications, the controller notified the law enforcement desk and asked us if we knew anything about the object and requested that we responded. We sent an armed patrol out. So that initiated my friends getting involved. And they drove out to the site. It's probably a 15 or 20-minute drive from our command center to that location. It's out located right on the coast. My friends didn't see anything on the way out. They met with the contractors. They got the whole story, and they took sworn written statements from each of the 3 contractors describing what they saw. They returned back. They typed up a report. They put it in the blotter, which is a chronological record of everything that happens on the base. It's a police record. And they made notifications through our chain of command. So they notified our commander, our operations officer, and on, including the wing command post. And it was up-channeled all the way to the top, as far as I know. And as they were telling me the story, I was copying all the paperwork, And that's pretty much what happened that afternoon.
How gigantic? And was it picked up on radar or only seen visually?
As far as I know, according to the documentation I have, there was nothing on radar. And I have that data is captured in the blotter and also in the witness statement I have. I have the witness statement from the individual that worked at range control that received the complaint and made all the notifications. So I have his written statement. So no radar tracks, no idea what it was. And the object was at least 100 yards wide.
Oh, wow.
Or whatever.
So those things like the
You know,
size of
I
a
would
football
think
field.
something like that, gigantic red glowing square over Vandenberg that goes over the base, would freak people the hell out. There would be alarm bells going off.
It did. I mean, some people were shocked. Some people were in disbelief. Other people were like me, where I was excited beyond, like, I couldn't believe it was really happening. My body turned. And then when it reappeared, my eyes were right on it. It had tracked, I don't know, like maybe 100 yards. And I was looking directly at it, and it had gone up. And it just sat there for a little bit. It wasn't pulsing anymore like it had been at high altitude. And then I had this moment of like sheer primal terror. And this thought popped into my head. And I'm like, oh my God, like, did it just abduct my wife? Is it going to abduct us? Like, what is going on? And I just took a breath, I calmed down, and I'm like, don't look away. And we just watched it. And then it sort of gently accelerated, not like fast. And it just kept climbing, and it went like, it would have been north, sort of northeast. And we just watched it kind of gently accelerate, and climb in altitude until it became indistinguishable from the stars. Wow. And it was gone. And we were just like, what happened? So I ran into the house. I picked up my landline. I called the command center. I'm like, hey, man, I know this sounds like fucking crazy, but here's what just happened. And this is probably like midnight, 1 a.m. And I'm like, I know you don't want to do this, but I'm like, you need to wake some people up. You need to call the command post. You need to call the commander. You need to make all the notifications. Call me back. I want to know weather. I want to know balloons. I want to know radar, on and on. So probably 15 or 20 minutes went by. The guy's like, dude, like, really, you want me to call the commander, right? I'm like, wake him up. And they did all that. And they called back, and they're like, dude, nothing on radar, nothing. We made all the notifications. I told him, cool. Put in the blotter, put all the info, me, Brandon, Phoenix, type it up. When I come in the morning, I'll write up a statement and I'll write up a report, and we'll log it.
All right, guys. Well, that's the end of that video there. This is just a snippet of this video as well by Weaponized. I will have their channel linked down below. You guys go check out the whole thing. It's quite interesting. I love the source. He seems like a very credible guy in the military, so you have to take his word for it, right? I just wish I want to see some images of this stuff. You know what I mean? And not just those blurry images so you go on X and you see everybody's UFO sightings, right? And they're all grainy or so far away you can't see it. We all got high definition cameras, and not one person could get a clear image of these UFOs. It's disappointing, for sure. And I kind of wish like this, we had an image of what he saw. It being 100 feet wide, the size of a football, this thing is ginormous. It's I just wish we had more information as far as like some kind of like visual aspect of it. I would love to see one, But I get it. All of this is just one step forward in the right direction. So I get it. This is just me wanting more, right? So anyways, you guys, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.